for The Sopranos, James Gandolfini wasn't the typical household name that he is today, as Gandolfini's rise to fame was all centered around his breakthrough role of Tony Soprano, a depressed mafia boss who secretly looks for help by visiting a therapist to control his anxiety, mental health, and chronic panic attacks, all while running a criminal organization and also being a family man on the side. After the ending of The Sopranos, Gandolfini, like many of The Sopranos cast members, began to get typecasted for similar roles associated with the Italian-American mafia. And while before The Sopranos, James Gandolfini worked in a number of films. But it's his role in a film called The Juror from 1996 with Demi Moore and Alec Baldwin that in hindsight is the role of Tony Soprano before Tony Soprano was even born. Before we get started, if you're new here, be sure to click subscribe and click that bell to get notifications on all upcoming Sopranos content. In the late 1990s, thrillers, mafia flicks, and films set in a courtroom were all the rave. Movies that started this movement were films such as A Few Good Men, The Rainmaker, Seven, Goodfellas, and Donnie Brasco. With these films being highly successful, many then tried to cash in on the current affair with thrillers, courtroom films, and gangster flicks, as this launched a plethora of underrated, forgotten, and mostly garbage films from the late 1990s in each category. One of the films to circulate through the craze was Brian Gibson's 1996 film The Juror. The film is about a juror named Annie, who is played by Demi Moore, and when she is selected as a juror in a high-profile mafia trial, she is forced by someone known as the Teacher, also known as Vince, who is played by Alec Baldwin, as the Teacher, being a representative for the mafia, intimidates Annie to persuade the jury to vote not guilty in the case. However, the kicker here is, Vince will threaten to kill her son Oliver, who is played by a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, if the jury decides otherwise. Caught in the middle of all of this is a mafioso named Eddie, who, as always, is played flawlessly by the late, great James Gandolfini. Eddie isn't your typical gangster from the 1990s. Yes, of course, we see him show hatred towards the feds, but he also is more of a sympathetic mobster, very similar to what we see in The Sopranos with Tony Soprano. As throughout The Sopranos, there's numerous occasions where we see Tony show emotion, and Eddie, while he may not show emotion throughout the film, he serves as more of a midpoint between Annie's normality and the psychopathic nature of Vince, who throughout the film watches over Annie and tries to vote against the craziness that lies within Vince, being that good voice of reason for Annie. Whether this is trying to tell Vince to stop stalking Annie and looks out for Annie and her son's own well-being. In many ways, Eddie almost acts as a guardian throughout the film for Annie, as towards the end of the film, Eddie complies with Annie to eventually cooperate with the cops and betray Vince to his mafia bosses, resulting in the death of Eddie thanks to an enraged psychopath in Vince to go on a killing spree. However, the acting that we see out of Gandolfini is striking at how similar his character's expressions, attitude, mannerisms, wardrobe, body language, and scenes are to that of the character of Tony Soprano. Just look at a few clips here.
She's gone. I don't know if the feds got her in a safe house or something, but she cleared out all her bank accounts, she took that money you gave her, and she's gone. What, are you kidding me? She hates our fucking guts. I am so sick of that bullshit with you. How the fuck do you know that? Since when does anybody give a shit what I think? You don't ever want to do that shit again, because he will hurt you. I don't want to see you get hurt. We're not animals. I got a kid too, just a little older than him. Teenager. Come on, for Christ's sakes, get the fuck out of there. They're going in the front door, go out the back.
After doing some research, there are a few films in James Gandolfini's catalog that had similar themes to that of The Sopranos, by showcasing Italian-American ethnicity, culture, and familiar actors that had been in The Sopranos. As The Juror also has Michael Rispoli in the film, who's the son of the boss or appears to be the underboss, as Rispoli is seen only briefly in The Sopranos with his role of Jackie Aprile Sr. but it's the Juror that was basically a pre-tryout or audition for Gandolfini's role in The Sopranos as Tony, which is especially shocking since the film was released 2.5 years before The Sopranos premiered. There's a famous line of dialogue towards the end of the film that has a strong connection to The Sopranos itself, with Vince saying Bada Bing, and the Bada Bing being the name of Tony's strip club.
Bada bing.
With the plot of the film involving jury tampering, The Sopranos 2 wouldn't shy away from this idea, as throughout the series, we watch numerous occasions that display The Sopranos and their involvement in jury tampering and also getting to witnesses early. In the end, The Sopranos and the jurors' involvement with the scenes that have James Gandolfini are so similar it's quite surprising, as when you compare the two side by side, they almost look the exact same, as you can't help but think or wonder if David Chase took inspiration from this role and wanted Gandolfini to be in The Sopranos. And the same could be said for Gandolfini, as you can almost certainly believe that Gandolfini took inspiration from the film and the role of Eddie and included it into The Sopranos during his amazing tenure as Tony Soprano. What are your thoughts about these shocking similarities that we see in The Juror that are also represented in The Sopranos? Let me know down in the comment section below. For more Sopranos content, keep it locked here, right here on this channel.